How are we doing, guys and girls? So here we are finally for the third installment of Hannah's Game, revisiting Mr. Hugo, his lust for young girls, his students, and of course continue to try and understand the mindset of a child predator, especially one in a position like a teaching position where he has access to children, and the discussions that go on between paedophiles and their communities about jobs, about where they'll have at best access to children, is insight that as a parent we all need to know. You know, knowing how these predators conduct themselves is crucial to ensuring we can do the best to keep our children secure. We're also going to be taking a look deep into Mr. Hugo's past on the deep web, his previous website, looking at chat logs that's come from the new owner of his website, and the discussions that go on between Mr. Hugo, the users of that site, and his admin team. Now, I would suggest, if any of you have not seen parts 1 and 2 of Hannah's Game, the links are in the description. Go and watch them now. Get caught up with this series because there's a lot to take in. Now, if any of you enjoy this content, enjoy these deep web series, leave a like, leave a comment, and any of you that can, please go over to my Patreon and support me there on the $1 Freedom Army tier. $1 a month really makes all the difference when you guys come together to support this channel and the content. So what else we're going to be looking at in this episode? Like I say, this is all focusing on the deep web and Mr. Hugo's past within it. His old website's current state, the conversations that go on in it. And towards the end of this video, we're going to be looking at the victims, the images, and the trophies of Mr. Hugo and his sick obsession with young girls. So the first thing we'll do is jump straight into Mr. Hugo's diary entry, his deep web diary entry, and really start the ball rolling on Mr. Hugo's past on the deep web right now. It's just as hard for me as it is for you to hear anyone refer to as a child as an object, and to not be able to see them as human is completely disturbing to most parents. But when you look inside the mindset of a predator, there is a serious sense of detachment from humanizing their victims, whether that's for their own psychological coping mechanism or whether that's just how depraved the mind of a predator can get to, where they can see a child and see through their eyes and just see them as an object for them to play with, for them to do as they will, and for them to act out their own disgusting fantasies upon. The one thing that serves as a warning to all parents out there about Mr. Hugo's story is his constant reminder to us that he abused without anyone finding out about it. And I think that's the scariest thing to us all, is the thought of a child being a victim of abuse but not feeling like they've been abused. Now, Mr. Hugo often talked about how his favourite child, this little girl named Hannah, was his favourite victim. He was obsessed with her because she looked so much like his daughter. Now, like I say, we are going to touch a little bit on the victims towards the end of this, and you know, it's not going to be an easy part for a lot of you to sit through, because we need to talk about these victims. So for our next section, we're going to just have a little look ourselves on the deep web, chat to some paedophiles, and see if they've heard of any of Mr. Hugo's productions, Hannah's Game, and we're going to also ask them about his website, just to see how widespread and mainstream these productions are. What I need you all to do is just hold your thought on exactly what you've just witnessed there. Just hold that thought in your brain, your own opinion that you're forming of this right now. I want you to keep it there. And just as we delve into this next section, I want you to keep that thought in the back of your mind. We're going to go down this rabbit hole into Mr. Hugo's chat logs with his current admin for his old site, the infamous site, and we're going to look deeper into the conversations that go on between himself and his admin team. This all seems to be going from a child porn theme down the hurtcore road. There seems to be a lot of references now coming up about hurtcore, and I think that's interesting, and we're going to touch on that after this section. So we're going to look right now at Mr. Hugo's conversations with his admin team on his old website on the deep web. so really deeply shocking stuff to see the conversations that go on between the new admins on Mr. Hugo's old site. Mr. Hugo, explained to me that everything on the site was for sale. It was all cash, and it's disturbing. It's disturbing that these communities are so large, and they seem to care for each other so much when new members come in. It's shocking. But seeing Mr. Hugo pursue the hurtcore topic, which is something that I've got great interest in, is quite interesting. And I think it's also interesting that he stumbled across a serial killer forum. Now, we're going to look at supposed, alleged conversations from this forum between Mr. Hugo and a serial killer. Now, this is where things get interesting. This is a major plot twist in the Hannah's Game story. We're going to look at some of the victims that Mr. Hugo put through his game, if you will. Starting with this young lady. This image was sent to me blurred, with a brief description of who she was, and it's sad. It's sad to know that these girls are out there and they've been abused. And when it was sent to me, it was completely blurred. So, I shouldn't be able to do this, should I, Mr. Hugo? Oh, a bit of magic there. We see the victim's face now. Does that mean we can identify her? I wonder what would happen if we done a very basic search on the internet, just like one of my sources did, to sniff out some truths. Alright, so this all started off with an email from a source that's been working with me with the Hurtcore series and been helping me sort of try and, what's the word I'm looking for, validate Mr. Hugo's claims, shall we say. We started off, this entire series, and my intention was to gain information so we could all learn from it. So basically, a reverse image search on the the victim I just showed you pulled up this, which is Luana model set 1 × 68, which is a full set of images. Now, when you open these images, every single one of them was branded down here. Do you see? So I done a search for that website. Actually, no, I did a search for her name, Luana Model. Alright, and Luana Model came up as a whole bunch of really young looking girls. But then there was this one image here, okay? Just this one image that is clearly from one of these. It's the same stripy top, it's the same girl. So we follow this link, and it takes you to this. Like, what is going on? There's her name, Lovely Luana, 146,000 views. Young fashion teen model. So let's check the account out. Let's see what else is on this account. Nothing. Uploaded 11 years ago. Crazy. Okay, so there is a link in the description. Dark Secrets. It's a blog. You click on that. So yeah, as you can see, this one just times out. I mean, there's nothing there. So it all gets a bit weird because we've got this weird YouTube video. Then it links to a blog. Obviously, we've got quite a lot of young looking girls that come up under that name, which is pretty weird in itself. And we can now assume that this is a non-child porn image. This is a clearly disturbing image, but there's no abuse, I don't think, going on in this. It looks like a young model that's been hired to do some sort of risky photo shoot. Now, as we keep digging, we end up on the Wayback Way machine, and it just gets super weird. So if we hit up the Wayback machine, just like this, and what we're going to do is, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look for the original Luna site that was on those images on the Viper website. Alright, so let us just go into this. So, I mean, you can see the website ran for a long time. A long time. It was peaking in 2018, so 2008, sorry. So we'll look at the results from here, and you can see all the updates that have been made. And let's just pick one of these and see what pings. Now, here we go. This is her. Hi, I'm Luana. I'm a 13-year-old. Welcome to my site. So, as you can see, like, this is some weird, like, website for... I mean, this is weird, right? This is super weird. This is super duper weird. Alright? Why was this on the internet? It's super weird. So I kind of just kept digging a little bit in this, okay? So this is the links page, and a lot of websites, especially adult websites, have what's called backwards linking, or they did back in the day when Google's algorithm really depended on how many other sites relevant to your site backwards linked to. And this was a way of doing it, was having a shed load of banners. And look at all of these. This is all like weird CP, but it being marketed as like legal clothed suggestive preteen porn. Okay, now there's a couple of things about this. I used to be a web designer, and on 2 occasions, I'm pretty sure it's 2 occasions. Yeah, look, Max Models right here, okay? Maxwell's Top 100. That's really the only thing that's duplicated, right? And I have a weird feeling about this Max Models, so we're going to just quickly jump over there, and we're going to check out what Max Models used to be. It's a really weird rabbit hole, like, it really is. Okay, non-nude, a 100% legal website. This is the top list, okay? So as we're going through here, I mean, this is super disturbing. There's the Luana site right there. I mean, this was super disturbing to find, like, this weird group of supposedly legal websites. Like, at what point was this legal? Do you know what I mean? So, basically what this means is the victim who Mr. Hugo claimed that this girl was isn't who he says she was, in my opinion. Okay? And after we've done this section where we're looking at the sort of the rabbit hole section of this whole adventure, I'm going to talk a little bit about how this kind of disproves a lot of things. But you can see this is I'm not saying any of this is right. I just want to point that out. When I say, you know, this is legal, it's non-abuse, I'm not saying this is still, you know, correct that this stuff exists. I'm not saying that. But there's a big difference between a 13-year-old, for whatever reason, being hired to do something suggestive like this through an agency, as messed up as it is, and a teacher grooming one of their students and sexually abusing them. There's a massive difference, okay? So it's possible that these images have been used in the place of the real images. Maybe his story's real, but he's changed the name of the productions he made. Maybe he changed the... Holy shit. Oh, it's a moth. Fucking hell, moth. Shit myself. Maybe he's changed the name of the productions. Maybe it wasn't really Hannah's Game. Maybe it was something else. Maybe it's all made up, but we'll touch more on that after this section. So, what gets things a little bit more crazy, okay, is we're going to cut back and we're going to have a look at another image, a slightly more important image than this, and we're going to talk a little bit about it. So after basically realizing that we've found one victim, turned out to be lies, well, the image turned out to be lies. It doesn't necessarily mean all of this is a lie. It could be false images used to protect himself. It could be different names, all that stuff. I understand that. But what really bothered me was how easily I kind of fell for all of this. And I wanted to make sure that I did put in some sort of effort to try and find these girls. And for me, when I was sent the first original image of Hannah, this is it here, and we knew that Mr. Hugo was wanted scarlet red hair and blue eyes. This isn't red hair, and that was on literally day 2. That was when the alarm bell started ringing for me. A source of mine who, massive shout out, brother, honestly, gotta say it, legend. Like, he's been on my case since the beginning of this, telling me that this is a load of utter nonsense, and it's looking that way. So let's just have a little look at how we solved who Hannah is from Hannah's Game. Okay, so this image here, you can see that the underwear and the hairbands, everything matches up. So I'm going to say that this is Hannah right here. So not only are the images of the victims fake, the image of Hannah is fake, and it happens to be the same girl as this set of images. So happily I can say that Hannah, the image of Hannah, is not real. Maybe the story of Hannah is real, maybe Hannah's name's been changed. I don't know what else to say on that. I mean, it's clear as day. And what I'm going to do is I'll show you the side by side and compare all of this. But the main thing that got me curious as to why we should be looking into this a little bit further, and as well with the sources that I've been looking in, is none of these girls have crimson red hair or blue eyes. Like, if Hannah was meant to have red hair and blue eyes, none of these girls do, and the hair was the first sign that these images weren't going to be 100%. So I am kind of pleased to say that the images are fake. But what does that mean about the story? What does that mean about Mr. Hugo? Well, is it possible that Mr. Hugo was a photographer? Is it possible that Mr. Hugo maybe had a modeling agency? Is it possible that maybe Mr. Hugo used to put websites together? Is this his history right here? I've no idea. I've no idea. But what I do know is these images were real. These kids are real, and this Max Models was a real thing. I mean, look at this. Join the Max Models Club, the Archive 1 Club. So, I don't know I don't know if this Max Models has anything to do with this at all. All I know is this seems to be a large distributor and creator modeling agency for risky jailbait, close to the edge, legal, clothed child porn. Just as disturbing, but weird, a weird rabbit hole to end up down. Couldn't be any further away from a deep web porn producer, okay, than being a surface web jailbait photographer. Very much a contrast. So yeah, a bit of a relief to feel that Hannah is possibly made up. At least the images I was sent are completely bogus. Excuse me. And we can all sleep a little bit easier at night, but why? Why has this been made up? Why have I been sent fake images? Is the whole thing fake? Is this a way of telling your story but changing essential parts to keep yourself safe? Is that what's happening? Are you a reporter? Is this some sort of how easily do these YouTubers believe the stories that they're emailed scenario? Like, what's going on? So for me, I'm glad that, you know, that Hannah, at least the images that we have of her, are completely fake. I think you owe it to my audience to explain yourself as to why you've done this. I hope it's for some really high intellectual level, like you wanted to create a pretend child porn, you know, myth and legend where no one has done a search for this on Google before, and as a result of my videos you're going to do an analytics test to see how many people have searched for it just based off this series. That would be smart. I don't think you're that smart. I think this has just got to do with some sort of flex or ego or trolling. It's fine, just be honest with me, because I think we deserve to know. But whether Mr. Hugo's real or not, what is real is the amount of DMs, the amount of emails that me and my team have received from women, from men all around the world who've been groomed by their teachers and gone through this exact same process. And it is scary to think that these monsters are real. It's scary to think that they could be lurking in our kids' schools right now. And I know that sounds a bit fear-mongery, but trust me, I come from Scotland. In the last 3 years, 2 of the local schools, 1 headmaster and a teacher, have been sent down, as well as a few policemen, I might have you add. So it's crazy. This whole legal porn side of things is completely just horrible. It's weird, and it's something that we've never really looked at on this channel, is the surface web history with skirting the line legality kiddie porn. These sexualized young women are everywhere. I found an Instagram account today of a Spanish rapper who gets very intimate with his sister in his TikTok account that we're going to look at this week. This is the beginning of the horrors week. Okay, tomorrow and all this week, all the way up to Saturday, we're going to be looking at the darkest new communities, the darkest new websites that I've found both on the surface and the deep web. And I'm telling you now, at the start of this video, you'll have noticed my pace was low. I was really not energized. That was filmed yesterday, okay? Today I feel like a completely different person. I've refilmed this, and my community rallied around me in a time of need over the last couple of days. And I want to say to you all right now, thank you. Thank you for being there for me, and thank you for lifting me up out of a very dark day. I love all of you, and I'm telling you now, I mean that more now than I ever have, and thank you, really, from the bottom of my heart. So what's next, man? So listen, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on this week of horror content, make up for the fact that there's a good possibility I could have been getting smoke blown up my ass. In Hannah's Game Part 4, I'm going to be showcasing the emails, all the correspondence, really just as a way to showcase that I never made all this up, because that's the position you put me in. So that's what's going to have to be done. Obviously not going to show any email addresses or anything like that, but you're going to see how things have been laid out and sent to me, because I don't like being lied to. And one thing I don't like is being lied to, but when it bleaches into my subscribers, I'm not going to have it. I'm not going to have it. Okay? You could have quite easily said to me, these images are not the real images. These are dummy images for use, and I would have accepted that. But you never. You even sent me made up stories to go with some of these photos. It's just very frustrating. I hope that all of this is fake and no kids were abused. That's what I'm going to hope. I would rather this all turned out to be Ron as a big joke. Ha 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 ha, we convinced him of this. I would much rather that be the case than any of this be real. So like I say, those of you who watch my streams, you'll have heard me mention that we're starting a new series of the surface web horrors and the deep web horrors. You heard me explain the reasons behind why I stopped doing some deep web content, because I didn't want to keep regurgitating the same stuff to you. I've heard loud and clear that you guys don't mind going over stuff a couple of times if we need to, going back to sites and investigating things. So at the end of this week, of this week of horror content, I'm going to be producing one very long deep web video a week, the Survivor series, and one other video guaranteed each week. I'll be streaming in the evenings for the paranormal stuff, and I'm going to be focusing on the Hurtcore documentary. On Saturday next week, I'm going to announce the launch date of the new Hurtcore documentary in the third Hurtcore trailer. You know, I would much rather tell someone else's story, and there is an abundance of people's stories to tell. Good, bad, dark, light, whatever you want to call it. There's an abundance of them, and I'm sorry anyone who feels like this is disappointing. I didn't want to blow smoke up your asses once we found out that some of the facts weren't adding up. And it's difficult. I just want to make it clear, though, to people that get triggered easily. It's difficult as a journalist to take a source like this that, unless I go and meet him in real life and say, oh, there's your face, and then I see him in his own productions and I go, oh, there's your face and you're abusing a child, it's difficult to corroborate, okay? And I'm obviously not going to watch anything like that. I'm 100% never going to do that. So it's difficult, and this was the first occasion it ever happened where someone contacted me and it was a real villain, you know? And I jumped on it, and I think that's the main lesson I'm going to learn from this, is to not get so hyped. And I have controlled it, because like I say, I'm in no short of dark and evil characters to interview. So like I say, guys, stay tuned for part 4. It will be when I get in touch with Mr. Hugo, if he ever indeed gets back in touch, to explain why he's been sort of misleading us in this. Is there a reason for it? And if you guys will ever believe a word that comes out of his mouth again. It's been a learning curve for me as a journalist, for sure. I've been taking things very much more cautiously since then, and there's a lot to come in this Hurtcore series. This is where I'm going to be focusing my attentions now. I've met some very interesting characters. I've had some very interesting insight into the realities and what actually is the essence of Hurtcore, and what these individuals actually are seeking in the media itself. So listen, thank you so much. Everyone's been so patient with this, and I just want to reiterate that the message in this is 100% real. Children are at risk from teachers, from authority figures all around the world. There's major operations in play, and syndicates for pedophiles to interact with each other, gain information, share tips and all the rest of it, to further sharpen the tools in their toolbox, to lure our children, groom them, ultimately abuse them and destroy them forever. So if you've enjoyed this series, please leave a like, leave a comment. If you're new, subscribe. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for staying with us with this series, and stay tuned for some slightly more provable horror content for the rest of this week. And I can only offer you all my apologies that if this turns out to be someone blowing smoke up my ass, that I allowed it to happen. It was early on in my investigative reporting career. This has just spanned out over a few months, this series now. So if it does all sound out to be fake, I do apologise, and I will be making sure moving forward that I don't fall subject to this kind of nonsense again. One more mention, $1 Freedom Army, link is in description, merch store, the tip link, all those things that you can do to support the channel are down there. If you want to do so, please do so. There's a lot more deep web coming this week, a lot more surface web horrors and communities. Just stay tuned. I'm going to leave you as a little tidbit with a conversation that I had the other day with a pedophile on the deep web, just to give you a taster of what's to come. Thank you, and be safe out there.